In American society, money is a taboo topic. We're taught at a young age it's improper to talk about it, but we're also bombarded with messages about the power and importance of money in our everyday lives. And by not talking about it, we miss out on the skills and lessons we need to effectively understand and financially plan. That changes today. Welcome to Money Tales. Hosted by Sandy Brager and Cami Doder, Money Tales brings more than 35 years of combined professional experience in personal finance to demystify money and demonstrate what it's like to speak openly about personal financial matters. Join us each episode as they interview modern-day movers and shakers about how money decisions intertwine with their daily lives in order to give you better insight into productive financial conversations. Subscribe today and register for our blog Fathom at aspiriant.com/podcasts to increase your money mojo. And now, here's Cami and Sandy.
This episode is all about being different. Sarah Peterson is our guest this week on Money Tales. What happens when a high achiever realizes that the things she was chasing, salary, status, and sparkle, aren't what truly fill the cup? Sarah found herself right in that spot. She spent her early 20s pursuing high-paying jobs and glamorous roles, only to end up buried in credit card debt and disconnected from her values. The financial wake-up call that changed everything included the moment a tax mistake forced her to move back in with her mom. From there, she rebuilt, learning to prioritize purpose over prestige and finding career clarity and balance. Let me tell you more about Sarah. She's a strategic and creative marketer with over 16 years of experience driving successful campaigns. Currently at Google, she owns the end-to-end omni-channel marketing and merchandising strategy for several retail accounts. Outside of work, she spends her time checking out the Minneapolis food scene, working out, volunteering, and spending time with family and friends, specifically her nieces and nephews who have completely stolen her heart.
Here are 3 key money topics Sarah hits on in this conversation. First, when job hunting, employer and lifestyle fit are just as important as salary and title. Second, how digging out of credit card debt in her 20s showed Sarah that she'd been spending money to impress people who weren't actually important to her while missing valuable time with those who truly mattered. And third, when the personal financial terrain gets rocky, don't hesitate to call in a financial advisor as a seasoned guide. Now it's our pleasure to bring you Sarah Peterson's Money Tales.
Welcome to the Money Tales podcast. I'm Cami Doder.
And I'm Sandy Brager.
Sandy, a friend of mine reached out to a group of friends. You know her. Her name's Julene Montgomery.
Love Julene.
Julene's amazing. She's a holistic nutritionist. And she reached out to some of her friends who had shown interest in what she's doing, me included, to try her continuous glucose monitoring class. I really jumped at the chance. I love learning about nutrition and the body. So I jumped at it and I thought, why not learn a little bit more about how to feel better if I can?
Excellent.
Julene makes it just super easy. Short, easy videos. She gives you 2 glucose monitors. These are the things you put on your arm to monitor your glucose throughout the day. And you have an app. Amazing, the technology. And I was thinking about this wearable, this easy experience. I put mine on this morning and what it's going to tell me. And it made me think, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we had a financial fitness monitoring device?
Ooh.
We could just tell you like, ooh, could you check their account? But anyway, we don't have that, but we have ways in which we can take care of our financial fitness. And I was wondering if you could share some of the basics for financial health and monitoring.
Let's just start with the nutrition fitness step. Taking really good care of ourselves is also a financial investment because it keeps us healthy and it avoids some very expensive medicine and treatments and health conditions later on in life. So that's one. You can pair it with nutrition, with exercise, that sort of thing. But to think about financial fitness, I really think about it like going to the gym. You go to the gym to build up muscle and to maybe do some cardio and build up your endurance. And I think the best way to do that from a financial perspective, and I'm going to talk right now to folks who haven't gotten started, who are starting at a baseline, is to carve out time out of your calendar, whether it's at the same time, same day, once a week, once a month, once a quarter, figure out what the right timing is for you and just carve out that time. See if you can carve out 30 minutes. Maybe over time you elongate it and have more time that you're carving out. Build that muscle slowly and use that as your personal finance time. Here's the sorts of things that you could do during that time to build up your financial muscles and endurance. A great place to start is with, how do you feel about money? How are you thinking about money? What kind of goals do you have for yourself around money? And then when you go from there, start having conversations with folks. Those can happen throughout the month or quarter, whatever time frame you choose for yourself. Then begin to layer in different pieces of your financial life. Maybe start with reviewing all your bank accounts, investment and credit card statements. Do this every week or month or quarter, whatever your time frame is. And the idea there is just to get used to, what do you have and what are you spending? From there, you can start putting together your own balance sheet. There are different software packages that you can find to help you. I love just using Excel and rolling up your sleeves and thinking about it. What are my assets? Putting all the account names together and the balances. What are my liabilities? How much money do I owe? Who do I owe it to? And then you'll have a picture of your finances and you can update that every time you have this financial check-in with yourself when you're doing your financial fitness, and you can see how it changes over time. From there, you just keep building. Maybe budgeting is something that you need. Maybe you're wanting to review all of your different insurance to make sure that you have the right insurance. Maybe one checking, you're looking at your health insurance. Another time, you're looking at your property and casualty insurance. If you have a need for life insurance because other people are dependent upon you for financial assistance, even if you're not living, that's a good reason to have life insurance. Take a look at that. And then just keep building. Taxes, estate planning. It can go on and on from there. But you just keep building, chunk things out, I guess, is my big idea for folks.
Dedicate the time, make it reasonable so you're committed to it. I think that's a really beautiful way of starting, which is what I've got, this glucose monitoring system. If you walk in the gym, you don't even know where to start sometimes. What you did is really make it simple, connect to your values, create a goal, make it small, and keep chipping away. That was beautiful, Sandy.
And talk to your friends and family, find out what they're doing and take their ideas into effect.
Thanks, Sandy, for being our money nutritionist. It's my pleasure to pivot our conversation. Welcome, Sarah Peterson, to the Money Tales podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Sarah, would you briefly introduce yourself and share a couple pivotal moments that have taken place in your life that really influenced who you are?
I'm Sarah Peterson. I'm currently a marketing manager at Google. I've been with Google for just over 5 years, which is where the breadth of my career has really been. I was a mover and shaker for a long time in my younger years, and so this has been the work that I've been at the longest. I live in the Minneapolis area, and I've been in Minneapolis my entire life because my friends and family are here. At the end of the day, it just boils down to my people are here, and so I'm here. If I'm not working, you'll probably see me out running. I picked up running during the pandemic and have fallen in love with it. I also have recently taken up my most favorite role I've ever had in life, which is being an aunt. So I have a niece and 2 nephews who are the greatest joy in my life. And I most recently moved 5 minutes away from them on purpose, but just to spend as much time with them as I can. So you'll see me with them a lot. They are wonderful. But as far as pivotal moments in my life, there's a couple that I could narrow down. One is first and foremost going through my college experience. I was at a private Christian school. I had worked in the job industry for a while, obviously during high school and then going into college. Because I did post-secondary education, I was able to go to what we call the private college job and internship fair here in Minneapolis a year early. And I remember walking into the Minneapolis Convention Center with hundreds of other students that's similar to me. They had their suit on, they had their portfolio and their 5 to 10-second elevator speech, who they are and why they should be hired. I froze. I was so overwhelmed. I didn't talk to one recruiter. I just walked around and I was like, oh my goodness, this is a competitive market. They're not just going to hire me because I'm a nice person. I have to really, really figure out who I am, what I stand for, and what I want to do and be able to talk about it. When I think about my career, and obviously career leads to salary, that was a really, really big moment. How do I prepare myself to be someone who stands out in a really, really positive way?
So important.
I moved careers a lot in my early 20s. I chased the salary, I chased the title, and I chased the glitz and glamour. If I could be traveling all the time, that was great. If I could be going to different events with athletes or celebrities, that was what I wanted, and that's what I sought out. That led to a lot of loneliness and a lot of unhappiness where I had to switch jobs a lot because, yes, the glitz was great, but the people that I was working with or the work that I was doing wasn't necessarily filling my cup. That really, really taught me after, again, multiple moves and not vetting out employers to see, are we the right fit together? To really slow down and make a conscious effort to think about where I'm working and think about it outside of just salary. And then I think the older I get, the more I just so appreciate balance. This idea that, yes, my job is something that is really, really important. My salary is required to live, but it's not everything. And so, what are my gives and takes of my professional versus my personal life, where potentially maybe I'm not making this amazing amount of money, or maybe I don't have the dream title, but I am happy and feel like there's a decent balance between my career and what I hope to do in my personal life.
Sarah, I love this learning journey. Tell us about the beginning, when it all began. When you were growing up, how did you start to learn about money? And in that learning, how did it feel?
I was originally born in Calcutta, India. So I was adopted and moved to Minnesota when I was 3 months. I am 100% Minnesotan in a lot of ways, but what I've learned, there's all these elements of your childhood, even at the beginning, that stay with you for a long time. My mom was a single mother, my adopted mother. We never had a lot, but we always had enough. We traveled, we could be in any activity that we wanted, but we were not the nicest house on the block. I was not wearing designer clothes as an infant or anything. We were going to Goodwill or Target at the end of the day. I really had, growing up, this perception of my social status. Living in Minneapolis in a predominantly non-diverse community, I really did want to, from an early age, make sure that I blended in as much as possible. Part of that is just coming from the background that I was and then into this new world where it felt like I stood out quite a bit. A lot of what I noticed about myself in my childhood was this need to overachieve and do as much as I could so that I didn't stand out and people couldn't say anything bad about me, even though I felt like I looked different or my family looked different than maybe the quote unquote norm or perfect family.
Thanks for sharing that experience. It makes me wonder if you were talking with your family about that standing outness.
I couldn't put words to it a lot when I was younger. Thank goodness for therapy as an adult, where a lot of this became uncovered. And I also think the world changed. The world has changed a lot since the 80s when I was a kid. Travel changed me a ton, where I would go to different states like Miami or California or New York, and I wasn't the only person that looked like me. And that helped me understand and start to put words on this feeling that I had that I wasn't able to verbalize as well as I could have as a child to my mom, because my mom's a mental health professional. She would have listened, she would have been all about it and super supportive. I just couldn't verbalize it. And maybe I didn't want to admit it. It's super tough to admit that you don't feel like you stack up.
And that's never a comfortable feeling, to always be so conscious of yourself. Did that standing outedness play into your desire in your early 20s to be a mover and shaker?
That was exactly it. If I was doing the cool things, people would talk about that and they wouldn't focus on me being the adopted kid or me being the kid with a single parent or me being the person who didn't look like everyone. And so that's what I tried to do, is compensate for what I again felt like was about me by overachieving in my career, having that perception of eliteness in a way, even though it was in the long run very unfulfilling and not true at the end of the day.
I'm curious, have you been back to your birth country?
I have. I did a study abroad trip in college and went back And it was just a very beautiful trip. But I think the biggest takeaway that I had was I really felt like my life is here. I felt very, very much like my mother is my mother in Minnesota. I didn't go back and have this pilgrimage of I want to connect with and find family, or there's this hole that I need to fill. It was appreciation for where I came from, but even more appreciation for where I am now.
Wow, that's beautiful. So tell us more about being in your 20s, because I think there are so many people who get pulled into this trap of wanting to look like we're achieving and being so focused on the dollar. And you're doing it. When did you start coming to the realization that that was working against you? It sounds like it was doing something negative versus positive. Tell us a little bit about what was going on.
From a money perspective, credit card bills definitely did not go well. My salary didn't match my output of what I was spending, whether it was again going out to dinners, having to go to fashion shows, buying clothes for an event and being like, oh, I can't wear that again because they saw me in it the last time. The credit card bills and just this hole that developed financially, no matter how much I made, no matter what my annual salary increase was, I just couldn't dig out of it for a really, really long time.
So that sounds exhausting.
Yeah, I learned the credit card lesson the hard way, as I feel like many, many people do, which is just that it is conscious decision and a lifestyle change often that has to happen for you to get out of that debt and that pattern.
Tell us about reckoning with the debt and deciding that you needed to make a change, because you mentioned that lifestyle not only now we know required a lot of spending, but you said you were really lonely.
What I found was the people that I thought were my friends are not real friends. They're convenient friends. Yeah, we see each other out and about, or we see each other at this similar meeting place, whatever the case may be, but they are not my core people. My core people do not care what car I drive, what purse I'm bringing with me, what clothes I'm wearing. I was putting so much focus in this other group of people that I was not nurturing my real people at the end of the day. And that's where the loneliness came because I had stepped away from my core people who just cared about me because of who I am, regardless of external things. I lost some years with them of being able to spend more time with them to just facilitate our relationship and friendship in my 20s because I was chasing these other things.
Sarah, what you just said really brings to life your comment at the outset when you were introducing yourself, saying that you're in Minneapolis because that's where your people are. It's just very, very powerful. You had all that going on and your credit card debt was mounting. So what happened?
Rock bottom financially was I had moved from a role that was hourly to a role that was salary. And that was so exciting. You wanted the salary. I mischecked my tax form and for a better part of a year did not pay taxes. I found out when I went to my tax appointment that I owed thousands of dollars because I never paid taxes during the year. I had to move out of my apartment within that month. I couldn't afford rent. I was already in credit card debt and I moved home. And as I was with my 50-plus-year-old mother, moving out of my studio apartment in the middle of winter, I was like, this has to stop. I cannot do this again. Like, I can't set myself up for this. I can't set my poor mother up. She cannot rescue me for the rest of my life from the financial things where either I wasn't prepping correctly, I didn't read the fine print, whatever the case may be. And that was really that pivotal moment for me of like, okay, you got to get this under control.
Did you talk to your mom about it at the time?
I did. She was very all in. And I feel like any parent will say, you never stop being a parent. Your kids are 20 and you might still get a phone call. That definitely fell into it. But I think it was surprising for her because of how I've been in the past. She felt like I was on top of things and that I would have it all figured out. And once I talked to her about this, she was like, oh, okay. I was never the one that I think she was worried about from a financial standpoint. I think she thought that that was something that I had rigor around, and I obviously did not.
It's the hard thing. We all make mistakes. You are hardworking and you probably have a lot of financial knowledge, but we all make mistakes. And I think that story is a really important one. And thank you for sharing, because this wave of challenges with the credit card debt was already sort of burdening you. And then this mistake with filling out, I assume, an employment form just pushed you over the edge. And luckily, you're smart, hardworking, and you got your mom there, which is so powerful. So thanks for sharing. It'll resonate. Maybe we haven't done the exact same thing. But then you talked about how important it is to vet your employers, which I think is interesting. So sometimes we think, oh, we should just accept any job. If it pays, I'm just going to go with whichever one has the top dollar. Describe your process. You've gone through this financial challenge. You've come through it. Describe your process when now you do look for jobs or when you were talking with Google. How did you decide they were a good fit for you and your values?
Two things that I try to find that balance of now is the professional side and the personal side. With understanding that balance, that's the core for me vetting. I think the thing that has helped me the most is understanding myself a little bit more. What is my working style? What do I need from an employer? What do I need from a manager? What's my communication style? What are things that I'm passionate about that just fill my cup at the end of the week where, like, okay, yes, I can be bogged down in budgets, but if I get to do X, Y, and Z, I'm content. And so being able to understand that and then verbalize it in a professional way, I think is really, really important. Salary is also really important. You want to feel valued for the time that you are giving to a company. Gosh, you spend 8 hours a day with them. It's usually more time with your employer than it is with your people. That is really, really important. And so I do always look at Glassdoor. And glassdoor.com has salaries that are listed across different companies for different like roles. That's always a good gut check for me of, okay, where is my salary at? What is the span of salaries for the role with a similar title at Google? So then I can kind of know I'm decent. They're offering me something within reason, or hey, I feel like this is off.
How often do you think about money today?
A lot. Recently went through a life change where I was going to be doing shared income. And so that's where my mind was at, was how do I bring two lives together and two incomes together to build our future? Shockingly, that's no longer. And so it has been very, very much on my mind because I am a single trying to build a life and a future for myself on a single salary. And so it is very, very top of mind. I think about it often. I think about it less stressfully than I have in the past, but it still is a big point of every week looking through my spending and my finances. What are the bills I have to pay by the end of the month? That sort of thing. And I do that because I've been in the world where I didn't do that. We talk about my early 20s, and I never want to go back there again.
It sounds like you created your financial habits and you created a wellness plan for yourself.
Yes, yes. I know you mentioned earlier in the podcast something about Google Sheets. I use Google Spreadsheets, and it's great. And I've saved every single year. So I can look back at 2 years ago, I was paying this much for my house. This is how much it's gone up. So I need to drive efficiency somewhere else. Hey, I had all these subscriptions last year. I've cut 2/3 of them out. Here's what I'm saving, that sort of thing. And I really like the spreadsheet mentality. It's simple, it's self-solve. You can build it for however your mind works, and you can have fun, you can add colors, all that stuff. So I really like the spreadsheet.
And it's satisfying when you see trends over time that are going in the direction that you drove them in.
Exactly.
Sarah, thanks for sharing about a relationship where you're looking at your future with the potential of two incomes, and now you're back to one. Both have risks. So describe how you're feeling today as you went through that journey and what you identified as the things that really hit you in your emotion center when you were thinking about dual income versus now you're your own breadwinner.
With the dual income, the thing that I was looking forward to most that's now gone is the security piece. That if something were to happen with my job, there would be something else to just keep the lights on. There would be another person's income. Now I need to make sure that I have that figured out on my own. That if there is something that happens with my job, or I get in an accident, I'm on short-term leave, or whatever the case may be, that I have it covered. And so I'm thinking, again, very, very, very much so long term. I think that is something that I miss. One of the things that I love about being in control of my own income is I don't have to ask questions to anyone. I spend how I want, and that is nice and it's freeing. I give quite a bit of my money away, and that was a point of conversation with me and my ex. And so just being able to not have those conversations is nice, but not necessarily realistic. Like I know that if I, were to meet someone in the future, right, these are just types of conversations you have. How much are you giving away? What is your like spending money on clothes? What's your going out budget? What's your gift budget? Those were the conversations we were having together. And now I'm having on my own with myself, which is a lot easier because it's just me that has to answer to myself.
You've had that practice, and it's being engaged in these conversations that give us the ability to have even better conversations next time around. So you have those skills going forward. How do you determine how much and to whom you're going to give money to?
I am a part of a religious affiliation. So I do tithe 10%. That's just based on like how I was raised. And then for other pieces, I probably need to create a budget. I have not. But one of the things I love to do is host and have people over. I love to send people cards in the mail. Well, cards are like $5. Okay, if I want to send 30 people cards, there goes $15. So as I've been thinking about my budget and again, refocusing it as just mine, I have started to think about, okay, I have my giving for my religious organization. I have my giving to just my friends and my community that I want to have, and starting to think about budgets because to be honest, I've noticed gotten a little out of control between birthdays, Valentine's Day cards, just thinking of you cards, all that stuff has added up. And I'm like, oh, this needs to get a little wrangled in, I think.
You're generous.
Yeah, you're investing in those friendships.
My mom and my grandma, she said, and I loved it, you can't take the money with you. So yes, you need to be very, very, very thoughtful about it because you have to live your life and you don't want to be a burden. But enjoy life and let the people that you know that you have in your life know that you love them. So I really do try to find that balance of, yes, I need to save, but I don't need to be like a crazy miser and save and have this crazy nest egg where I let my people in my life go because I just want to have all the money. And so I really try to find, and I'm working on that balance.
Balance is key. Describe your relationship with money today, Sarah.
It's a relationship that I respect. I have a lot of respect for money. What I don't ever want it to be is a control relationship. I don't want it to control me. The rigorous management and giving it time and planning is really, really important so it doesn't control me and I can have financial freedom. I do think about this balance of, yes, enjoyment of the present, but also preparation for the long term. I would like to retire at some point. I would like to be able to, yes, have experiences and moments in my present, but I also want to make sure that I'm setting up well for the future. And so, what is that balance? What are the things that I have to say to now so that I can say yes to other things later on type scenario?
Sarah, I want to talk about taxes a little bit because you mentioned before you filled out the tax forms wrong, your W-4 and whatever the equivalent is for the state of Minnesota. I think that those forms are incredibly difficult to complete. I don't think they're written in plain English. The directions often don't help. I'm saying this as a professional certified financial planner who once had an active CPA license. It's so hard.
It is.
Once you learned that lesson of, oh gosh, there's some pretty big consequences to these forms, how did you move forward with your tax life?
They need to teach how to fill out these forms in consumer math in high school because you're starting jobs then. We should be learning from a young age about these forms and the repercussions.
They should rewrite them for maximum understandability.
Exactly. Can we just redo them, please? I think the other thing that I didn't have back then that I have now and that helps me so much is a financial advisor. Bringing them in on this journey, talking about deductions and other pieces of that form is part of my annual conversations I'm having with my financial planner to just make sure, again, we're doing things correctly, we're doing it in line with my financial goals, and we're setting myself up for the future.
Excellent. What prompted you to start working with a financial planner?
The realization that I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know a lot. I need help. And there are people that are way, way smarter than me with numbers that can help me through that. I also don't have the time, the rigor and the understanding that you have to have around the market and the economy and current events that might impact the market and the economy. In my 9 to 5 job, I don't have that space to be the expert. And so that's really what I lean on my financial planner for. Give me advice based on, again, all the inputs that they have within their role. And then we can action again based on that. And what I really appreciate about my personal financial advisor is it is our plan. It's never their plan. Everything is a discussion. It's personalized and it's done thoughtful. I've never felt pressure once. And I really appreciate that too, because any type of pressure around money just makes people cringe. I've really appreciated that approach as well.
I find it really frustrating when people feel they have to know everything and do all the finances themselves and do their taxes because we delegate so much in life. Why can't we confidently delegate this? And I liked you said, I don't know what I don't know. And I think that's really powerful. And that instead of you feeling your knowledge was lacking, you've just allocated your time in other areas. I really want to keep talking about that on Money Tales and with my community. We judge ourselves so harshly because, oh, wow, we don't know everything about some financial concept. Tell me how your car works. I open the hood. I don't even understand these cars these days. There's so many things in my life I don't understand, but I don't care. I take it to the mechanic or I go to my dentist. So I like that you brought this up. I think it should just be part of all of ours as we're supporting each other to say, good on you. And then you get with your financial advisor, learn what you want to learn. And I'm curious, how do you go about learning today financial concepts you're interested in?
I wish I could say I reached out to my financial advisor. I don't always, but what I do a lot of is sounds crazy, but just talking with my girlfriends. What are they dealing with money? What are they doing with their families? I find some of the best advice I get is just through them because we're in similar life stages. The money problems that they're facing are probably very, very similar to mine. I also have great people in my life and mentors. I respect how they've handled money. And so they have been great at running ideas by, asking questions, asking for help, that sort of thing. I mean, my mom has been wonderful, and I have many other family members too that have jumped in and given me advice. I think the biggest thing is number one, do you trust them? And number two, are they okay giving you advice? Because I know a lot of people that are really, really good with money, but they don't want to give advice. Like that's just too scary. Maybe they feel like if something goes wrong financially, they don't want to be on the hook for that. It is important to find those people that you respect money wise, but then also are okay giving you advice.
Tell us, what's your next money conversation going to be and who's it going to be with?
It's usually with my two best friends. We text all day, which is probably weird, but we talk a lot about money things. I have a friend whose husband's in the middle of a job search, and so money is different for them. I have a friend who's preparing for the arrival of her second child. So money is looking different as they prepare for 2 daycare fees instead of 1. And then I hope that I can have money conversations with my niece. That is something that I hope that they're going to feel comfortable coming to me as an aunt and looking at my life and being like, hey, I think she has this figured out. I trust her. I want her advice.
Oh, Sarah, that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing all these conversations you're going to be having. Tell our listeners, where's the best place for them to find you, besides to Google you?
LinkedIn is probably the best. I have a profile on there, and that's probably the best way to find me.
Wonderful. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us on Money Tales. It was just a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Money Tales podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, share it with someone you think would benefit from listening. And leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Your ratings and reviews help more people find our podcast. If you're inspired to gain clarity and peace of mind about financial matters, don't hesitate to reach out to our team at Aspirient. Go to aspirient.com/start a dialogue. Or you can email Sandy and me at podcasts@aspirient.com. See you next time.